That morning started like any other shift. The sun had barely risen, the ward smelled faintly of disinfectant, and somewhere down the hall, a monitor beeped lazily. I remember glancing at my charts, a few routine checkups, nothing unusual. Until I met her, a woman in her late 30s, sitting quietly on the bed, one hand pressed against her temple. Her face was calm, almost too calm, the kind that hides discomfort. When I asked what brought her in, she smiled weakly and said, "It's just headache, nurse. It will pass. I just need to rest." If only she knew what was coming. At first glance, she didn't look like someone in serious trouble. No slurred speech, no weakness, no confusion, just tired. But something about her didn't sit right with me. Maybe it was the way she blinked a little slower than normal, or how her breathing had that almost invisible hitch, like her body was under pressure. I asked, "How long have you been having the headache?" She said, 2 days now. I've been taking painkillers, but it keeps coming back." Painkillers. 2 days. Persistent headache. That's where my nursing instinct whispered, "Check her blood pressure." I rolled the BP monitor to her bedside. She smiled again, as if to say, "You're wasting your time, nurse." The cuff wrapped around her arm with that familiar haze. The numbers blinked. At first, I thought the machine was wrong. 192/118. I checked again. Same reading. My stomach dropped. Her blood pressure wasn't just high, it was dangerously high. I looked up at her and said quietly, "Maya, your blood pressure is very elevated. We need to act quickly." Her smile faded. "But it's just headache. How can it be blood pressure?" I remember placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Sometimes, the body hides danger behind small symptoms. We rushed into immediate care. The doctor was called. Medication prepared. We monitored her closely. As I stood there watching the monitor beep steadily, I couldn't help but think, how many people around the world is walking around right now, calling it just a headache, not knowing it's their body's alarm bell? Hypertension is a silent killer. It rarely screams. It whispers through tiny signs like headache, dizziness, or fatigue. She was lucky she came when she did, because just a few more hours and that ordinary headache could have turned into a stroke. When she stabilized, I sat beside her. Her eyes were teary. She told me she'd been working long hours, barely resting, skipping meals, drinking lots of coffee to stay awake. No regular checkups. No idea about her blood pressure levels. She said, "I thought hypertension was for older people. My mother had it. I never imagined I could too." That sentence stuck with me, because that's how most people think. It won't happen to me. But the truth is, hypertension doesn't care about age. It creeps in slowly, quietly, until one day it strikes. A few days later, she was better. We adjusted her medication, guided her on diet, lifestyle, rest. Before discharge, she said something I will never forget. "Nurse Clara, that day you checked my BP, you saved my life." I smiled and told her, "No, you saved your life because you chose to come to the hospital." And that's the lesson I want to share today. Lesson 1. Never ignore persistent headache. especially when it feels different. Painkillers may mask the symptom, but not the cause. Lesson 2. Hypertension doesn't always show dramatic signs. Sometimes it's silent, and sometimes it's deadly. Lesson 3. No one is too young to have high blood pressure. Stress, poor sleep, fast food, genetics all contribute. Lesson 4. Check your blood pressure at least once a month, even if you feel fine. A few minutes could save your life. That patient's story changed me as a nurse, because behind every ordinary complaint could be an extraordinary danger. When I walk through the ward now, I listen more carefully. I watch faces, gestures, silence. Because sometimes what a patient doesn't say is louder than what they do. And when I see a patient smiling through pain, I remember her. The woman who thought it was just headache, but in reality, her body was crying for help. So, if you're watching this right now, pause. How are you feeling lately? That fatigue you call normal, that dizziness you brush off, that headache you've been fighting for days. Don't ignore your body. It whispers before it screams. You deserve to live long, to be healthy enough to see your dreams come true, to enjoy the life you are working so hard for. Health is not luxury, it's foundation, and no dream is worth your life. When she walked out of the hospital, she turned and waved. There was light in her eyes again, not just relief, but awareness. And that's what I want for you. Awareness, because awareness saves lives. So next time someone says it's just headache, remember this story and tell them to check their blood pressure. If this story touched you or taught you something new, please subscribe, share this video, and help me spread more real hospital stories and health lessons.